Hello class, it's Rosanna Getty here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Yellowstone National Park today. I hope to share with you a little bit about its flora, fauna, and geothermal features, and a little bit about its history, and other things that make it so special and why it's been preserved for so long. I'm going to start with a famous quote from an inspirational conservationist named John Muir. Everybody needs beauty as well as bread, places to play in and places to pray in, where nature may heal and give strength to the body and soul alike. Now, it's not difficult for me to realize that not everyone is so allured by nature as I am, but I'm going to share with you some specific details about Yellowstone National Park that can impress just about anybody. Yellowstone National Park is 3,400 square miles that run through Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. The park contains Yellowstone River, many lakes, geysers, mud pots, fumaroles, mountains, and many geological features. The park is home to 67 species of mammal, 2 threatened and 1 endangered. According to the National Park Service, the park was established in 1872, and numerous Native Americans used the land as their home for hundreds of years before that. 27 different tribes, including the Shoshone, the Blackfoot, the Nez Perce, the Flathead, and the Bannock Indians, used the land as their home because it was so fertile and so giving. They were able to farm, fish, and raise their families there for years. They also took advantage of the hot water that came out of the ground due to the geothermal activity in the area. They used the hot water in the springs to treat hides and to cook with. They lived sustainably on the land, which means that they used it in a way that left it to be fruitful and beautiful for future generations, such as ourselves. They took only what they needed, and thank you to that, we have Yellowstone National Park in beautiful condition today. According to the National Park Service, the Yellowstone River is the largest river that runs through the park. It is 692 miles long and it sustains a lot of life. You can find rainbow trout, cutthroat trout, smallmouth bass, and walleye, to name a few kinds of fish within the river. And these fish feed many of the land animals that are around, such as bears and badgers. 137 square miles of sparkling surface water makes up Yellowstone Lake. And in this lake, they are actually having a problem recently. There's an invasive species of lake trout that they're not sure how it got there, but it's messing with the populations of cutthroat trout, which feed many of the land animals. So biologists are doing what they can now to figure out where this fish came from and why it's affecting the populations as it is. Some of the most spectacular and eye-catching water features of the park are the 290 waterfalls that are throughout it. Some of the smaller ones can range from just 15 feet of cascading water to the largest waterfall in the park that is 308 feet high. It's unclear whether the park was named Yellowstone because of the Yellowstone River or because of some of the yellowish sulfurous rocks that you can find at the bottom of some of these waterfalls. Although the water that flows in the lakes, the rivers, and the waterfalls are very beautiful and offer a serene kind of peace to the park that anyone can gaze at in amazement, the geothermal wonders cannot be ignored. Geothermal activity is water, heat, and pressure from under the ground because the park is actually positioned over a very large sleeping volcano. So the geothermal activity can surface in many forms. One of them is geysers, where pressure forces water out of the ground. The largest geyser in the park is called Old Faithful. It's one of the park's largest attractions. It can spew 3,000 to 8,000 gallons of water up to 200 feet high, and it does this regularly, about every hour and a half, day and night. Wikipedia also was able to tell me that the park contains the largest concentration of geysers in the world. 60% of them can be found in Yellowstone. There are many smaller than Old Faithful, including one called Beehive Geyser, one called Giant, and one called Giant Nest Geyser. Mud pots are another of the geothermal features found in the park. These consist of hot, soupy, boiling mud pots in the ground that are actually very beautiful because of the microscopic organisms that live on the surface. They can display an array of neon colors, oranges, blues, yellows, greens, beautiful colors. And I'll have some pictures of that to show you in a bit. Hot springs are one of the features that we're probably most familiar with, which include hot water being forced out of the ground because of pressure. Um, Humans have used these for thousands of years for relaxation, like I said, with the Native Americans for cooking and for treating hides. Another very unique feature of Yellowstone is its petrified wood forest. The trees became petrified due to the volcanic gases and other materials in the area that caused the trees to harden like rocks, to glisten like glass, and to turn rich red and deep amber orange colors that are just very beautiful to look at. What's unique about this park, petrified trees in particular, is that many of them were preserved in an upright position, which is very strange. When I picture all of these beautiful waterfalls and geysers and petrified trees, it makes me think what kind of animals would live in this strange place, but plenty of them find the place just perfect for them. You can find many animals. You can find 40,000 ungulates, which are hoofed animals, including bison, elk, pronghorn, mountain goats, and moose. These animals fare well in the long, harsh winter months, which Yellowstone goes through every year. They are able to find shade and comfort in the valley, find food in the valleys of the park, and then when the weather gets harsh, they head up the mountains and find what little food there is to be had. In the park, you can find grizzly bears, black bears, hawks, bald eagles, badgers, foxes, wolves. Uh, Over the years, the scientists that study the park and all of the life in it have been inclined to interfere or to try to help with different populations when the populations go down a little low or when a food source gets low for a particular animal. But they found that for the most part, nature will play its course and everything will work out because human interaction or interference is not usually helpful. According to a documentary that I watched recently called Yellowstone Battle for Life on Animal Planet, in 1995, scientists did actually interfere with the wolf population, but it all worked out correctly. The wolves had gotten to a dangerously low level in 1992. They were almost extinct because when the wolves travel outside of Yellowstone's borders, they can be hunted. The scientists decided to reintroduce a population of gray wolves in 1995, and since then, the population has grown substantially and it's back to a healthy level. Now, you're probably wondering what the normal parts of the landscape look like and where all of these creatures live. And there's plenty of subalpine forest to go around. You can find many species of deciduous and coniferous trees in Yellowstone, including willows. Lodgepole pine is one of the largest characteristic trees of the park. Engelmann spruce, Douglas fir, aspen trees are all very common. These trees fare well in the winter when it's very, very harsh weather, and they also are able to make it through the wildfires that take over the park during fire season each year. Scientists sometimes set fires to kill what is there and cause a burst of regrowth. And also, there are natural fires that occur from very dry conditions and very dry brush and lack of water. These trees are able to thrive even through these conditions because the seeds of these particular kinds of trees are protected by a resin, a coating of resin, that allows them to make it through the fires and regrow right out of the ashes. And it actually causes a burst of life of new plants, new animals, babies of all sorts that have learned to live in this very harsh environment over the years. There are many varieties of sweet smelling and exotic looking flowers that cause a beautiful, ever changing patchwork of color throughout the park throughout the year. April through September, different plants and flowers will bloom in blues and pinks and yellows, any color you name it, you can find it in this park. Um, So it's very beautiful, especially in the summer months, to see all of that different kinds of flowers come up. So if you can picture a mountain goat skipping down a snowy mountain with its kid in tow, or a herd of bison that is traveling, shaking the earth because of their massive size, or if you can picture one of these 300-foot tall waterfalls surrounded by wildflowers and grizzly bears. I mean, these are just some of the unmistakably beautiful and precious features of the park that have been preserved for so long because we find value in them. We need a place like Yellowstone that's outside of our city life and, that can show you what real nature is like. So I hope you've all learned a little bit about Yellowstone National Park, what makes it so special, and I'm just going to show you a couple of pictures of the beauty you can find within it. So here we have some of the mud pots and those beautiful colors I was mentioning all around the edges from the organisms. We've got, going this way, some of the beautiful animals. There's the gray wolf, bears, pronghorn on the bottom, a fox, beautiful little chipmunks. We have the eagle and some of the waterfalls here. And moving this way, we've got some of the geysers, including Old Faithful. And you can see really how large that is next to Beehive Geyser. It's pretty massive, and that's why it draws such a crowd in it, because it erupts regularly. It really puts on a show for people. So, I thank you all for listening to my speech about Yellowstone National Park, and I hope you've learned a little bit about what makes it so special. I hope to visit it this year. Thank you very much.